Hey everyone, I just this lighting is horrible. I'm like parked in a really weird place, and I watched the Taylor Swift documentary Miss Americana this morning. Whether you love Taylor Swift or hate Taylor Swift, I don't care. I'm a fan. I've always liked and enjoyed her music. So I have nothing to gain or lose by offering my opinion and by sharing the things that I'm about to share in this video, but there is a scene in the documentary where she shares what she went through. There was an event years ago that she went to where a man, I'm not good with names, I can't remember, but she was taking a picture with two people. One was a woman, one was a man, and the man reached up her skirt and grabbed her butt. And you can clearly see that in the photo that they show in the documentary. And she shares what it was like when she had to go to court over this, and that she felt humiliated because she was asked, well, why didn't you scream? Why didn't you, step away from him? Why didn't you say this in the moment? Why didn't you? And that whole scene triggered me. And people get onto me for sharing things. They say I share too much. They say, again, then my channel is not for you. This video is not for you. Please turn to something else or whatever. I don't really care. But my life has not, despite what I look like, people think I look young for my age. People think I look naive. People think I look stupid or whatever. I've had a really bumpy past in my life. I've done some not horrible, but I've made mistakes. I've been rude to people. I've been unkind. I've been mean. I'm not a perfect person. And I've also had those things done to me, and I've had horrible things done to me. And that part triggered me. Hearing that those people asked her those questions, because I was raped back in, I want to say 2012 or 2011. And I went to a party and I was dating this guy. It was a party at his friend, like a get together at his friend's house, and they had this homemade moonshine. And we were taking shots, and I hadn't eaten that day. I'm already a lightweight. I can't go past 2 drinks even on a full stomach. And I took a shot, and we're cheering, and then I took another shot, and I remember waking up, and the guy was on top of me having sex with me. To this day, I will never forget seeing the room was dark, but the moonlight was coming in, so I woke up and just saw his eyes, and he had this like devilish look on his, like, I can't even describe it. Like, it was this devilish look on his face. And I immediately started crying. And he starts, calling me a baby, whatever, putting me down. It was a horrible situation. And he tried to convince me that I was the one that initiated that whole thing. And I remember telling, I won't say what family member, because I don't want anybody to get mad at that person or whatever. But I remember telling a family member what happened, and they fussed at me, and they said it was my fault because I shouldn't have been drinking. And I remember telling a friend who basically said the same thing. So I let it go. And it's a load that I put on my back. and have carried for years. And I recently, last year I started therapy and worked through it. But I didn't report it at the time because, one, having been in an abusive relationship prior to that, I know that if your attacker is handsome, funny, charming, a pillar in the community, the good old boy that everybody went to school with, nobody's gonna believe you. They're gonna believe him. Whatever he says, if he calls you crazy, psycho, blah, 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 they're going to believe him because he's attractive and everybody likes him. And nobody's going to believe it because their experience with that person was positive. So I know that from past experience, it just doesn't work in your favor. And this guy was handsome, attractive, popular, personal trainer. He was a youth pastor at his church, guys. He was a youth pastor at his church. So I knew already in that regard, the odds were against me. The second thing was I didn't know that I had the option to even I didn't even know that I had the option to even come out and say anything because I thought it was my fault. I shouldn't have been at the party. I shouldn't have been taking shots. It was my fault. So I didn't even know that I had the option to even report it. The next thing is I was in I wasn't that young, but I was young mentally, and I didn't know the resources to kind of piggyback off of the fact that I didn't even know I could report it. I thought it was my fault. I didn't even know the resources available to me as far as having, been able to get legal aid or what my options were. And then the next thing, I didn't have the financial option to take the time off from work that it would have taken to pursue these options and to go to court and to do this and to do that and to go through all that. So I choose to let it go. And with me, I guess I was in denial that it even happened. And eventually I still was speaking to the guy, and by accident we were talking about that night, and he goes, well, you didn't start it, you didn't do anything. And it's like, you knew it, but you don't. It put even more pressure on me, like, yeah, it really happened, so now what? So I stopped talking to the guy, blocked him on social media, and I eventually, over the years, I took down the Facebook. I put up a new Facebook, and this guy friends me again. And at that point in my life, I was in a different place. I blocked him. But for any person who has gone through a situation where they've been raped or assaulted, it is not your fault. It is not your fault. And if anybody's telling you that it is your fault, one, they probably just don't know better. They don't understand. Or maybe they've gone through it and they know what you're about to head into and they want to protect you from going through that legal battle. I don't know. But I just want you to know that it's not your fault. 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 And there are so many resources for legal aid out there available if you can't afford a lawyer. In a lot of companies, they have something called an employee assistance program that offers counseling that can maybe provide you with a route to take to report something like this. If there's even a thought in the back of your head that something happened, you need to say something. And if for whatever reason you're like me, you were like me, you are how I was back then, rather, and you don't choose to report it, please seek therapy. Because the damage, the trauma that causes on you is going to last until you deal with it. So, yeah. It's a lot. And it's even more hurtful to see the person who did those things to you living a great life and go on to, have kids and have a house and do all these great things. And I don't know what the person's going through on the inside, but that's going to be something that you'll have to eventually, deal with too. And they could be very well going through their own personal hell within themselves. I don't know. But the point is to deal with you and what happened to you. It is not your fault. I don't care if you walked in the party with a 2-piece bikini. I don't care if you drank a bottle of vodka and passed out. Unless you gave consent, that's a no, and it's not your fault. If you think something happened, report it. If you are not strong enough to report it, at least please seek some kind of therapy to help you deal with it. So anyway, that is me sharing something really personal that's happened in my life. I just want to help someone and be the person to you who may have had this happen to them that I didn't get at the moment. I didn't have anybody rally around me and support me and tell me what my options were. So I want to be that for you. And you can always dial 211 and speak to someone, and maybe they can direct you in the steps or who to talk to. But just in everything, just take care of yourself and seek some kind of mental health care, therapy, counseling, something. So anyway, in other news, on a lighter note, it was a really good documentary. Like I said, I've always been a Taylor Swift fan. So, that's something you could sit and enjoy with some popcorn and watch that. I like her music, but that moment really triggered me to say something. So anyway, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye.